Hi, you are watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I am Elisa. I'm just gonna do a shorty today because I don't have a lot of time, but it feels like I should do one. So I just split the Mystical Shaman right away, and I got the Smoky Mirror, and I got the Rainbow. So this is really interesting because, well, when it's facing me, it looks like this, but the Smoky Mirror speaks to sort of like distortions that are kind of like residuals, from, it's really interesting because I just finished watching this interview with Prince Harry about his new book, and he was talking to Stephen Colbert, and he was talking about this very thing, but he was talking about how, any kind of trauma or experience, like unhealed emotional whatever, it's like a lens that you see the world through, and it's kind of like a distortion, so that you don't actually see things as they really are, because it's just sort of like your pain is kind of like blocking you from acknowledging certain parts of what's going on. So it's just like you're kind of trapped in that until you can sort of like heal that, and that's kind of what this card speaks to. It's sort of like these distortions from unhealed pain and trauma. And he was talking about how he had done all this work, from all the trauma from his mom's death, and he's like now like been liberated from that and can like see the world as it is. And it's so wild because that's kind of what this speaks to. The rainbow is like all your chakras are in alignment, the wind is at your back, and it's like you're moving forward, and you have the support of the universe behind you. So it's really wild. And it's also wild because I've been making all these analogies with this sort of generational curse theme that's been coming up with Prince Harry's story. And it's just like a weird alignment of circumstances. When I picked up this card also, I got underneath it, we got the staff and we got witness. So the staff kind of, it's like almost speaks to this sort of like power that's bigger than yourself. So for example, like the story of Moses parting the Red Seas with the staff, it was like this impossible thing that you can't really imagine being overcome, but like you're actually overcoming it. And the witness speaks to this sort of like, you've done this work within yourself, so it's like it doesn't require any action. Like you just watch it unfold. So it's like watching the unfolding of this overcoming with the universe at your back. And so it's interesting because like in Harry's case, he's like overcoming this, like his story being told by the press and like it not being his truth, and it's sort of like controlling his life, and he's sort of like taking the reins and he's like, no, I'm gonna live my life on my terms, which I think is really brave and cool, so that's one example. But like overcoming some sort of force around you that's been holding you back, which is interesting because the readings leading up to this have been all about like the medicine wheel and like finding your true north and moving forward and like not being held back by like people or circumstances or things that are, not in alignment with that, like moving forward and like through the chaos and allowing it to fall away. Like that was a reading, and there was another one after that as well. So anyways, okay, so I'm going to the Angels and Ancestors deck to get another message from the ancestors. So we got Sky Father, trust in the unknown. It's really interesting because there's this eagle, and the eagle is all about sort of like being able to see things from high up above, but like with discernment, like being able to see like with very high precision what's happening on the ground, but having a bird's eye view, like like a certain wisdom with that, but also like it's like there's this lightning, there's like this illumination happening, there's this freedom, like the eagle is a like a symbol of freedom, and like also of just like overcoming one's circumstance, you know. And then we have, this is really interesting because this came up in a reading. I'll figure out which one it is and link it here, unless it's the one that I already linked. If not, I'll put it up here. But so the trader, exchange energy to create abundance. So it's like that's the path to liberation, is like, it's like not being stuck in your circumstance, but actually figuring out like how you can sort of like engage the world to like move forward, you know. So like for Harry, it's just like he's like, he wrote this book, he's telling the story on his terms, and like that's his path to freedom. Like for everyone it's going to be different, but it's interesting because like when that card came up before, it was like all about the Silk Roads, and okay, so that just popped out. Okay. All right, it's almost like there's like these two stories that are being told, because like there's this a whole bunch of stuff that just plopped out, so I'm taking it. Okay, so it's like there's these two stories. So there's this blockage, you know, this, like, you know, I was talking about like stuck energy, you know, and that's like leading to this loss, you know. There's this wounded warrior here, but like I think part of what's going to help this person move forward is like not focusing on the loss, but focusing on what's left. You know, like changing their mindset, which that was a reading, like I think that was the one for January, to like get on the right track, because this person is maybe not on the right track. But the advice here is to sort of like engage from like a heart-centered place, like understand where that is, but then also learning how to channel that energy in a like positive direction, and taking command of it instead of being stuck, because this is like toxic. And then for the other story, we have this new foundation that's being built, you know. It's like in a way, like it's almost like the same story, where it's just like we're here in this place where we're just sort of like in sort of self-protective mode, and that has to end, because it's just like goes to just pain, you know, like it doesn't lead anywhere good. And but if you can like find your tribe, like your people, it's gonna lead to like abundance and like a really stable foundation, which is interesting because that's kind of like what Prince Harry did. He like moved to California and he found his people, and now he's, you know, on a different path, and he's like not being blocked, and he's doing good, like he's like in his power. So that's kind of like the path to like move forward. But it seems like there's going to be like a lot of chaos and things falling away to like move through that, you know. Like that's like a sort of universal story that's been around since, you know, all of time. So okay, oh my gosh, wow, this is so wild. So we got letting go. So this was a card that came up in like two readings, like I feel like the January and the full moon reading or something. I'll put the full moon up here because I think I already linked the January, but it's all about letting go. And then we have eagle spirit, freedom. So again, like this is like a double message. It's like we're gonna have to let go of what's blocking us, of what's not serving us, in order to have that freedom, you know. So it's like that might be hard to see right now, you know, when you're on the ground, but this Sky Father is like letting you know, like, you know, he can like see things from a higher perch, and like that is the path. even though it might be hard to see when you're sort of like in the forest, you know. Um, so yeah, really interesting message. Let go of what's not serving you. That's the path to freedom. And we'll check in soon with more updates.